Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining another episode of the Educational Leadership Podcast. We have another very special guest. Before we introduce our guest, we do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Ideal Impact. Ideal Impact's giving away hundreds of millions of dollars to public education in the form of a free gift. So if your district needs unrestricted funds, reach out to Ideal Impact. Okay, today we have Superintendent Tobler from Mustang Public Schools. Superintendent Tobler, thanks for joining today.
Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here, and I'm working my way to superintendency, but I'm actually an executive director right now. But maybe I can achieve that someday.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, there we go. So that's a good point. So if you can share the difference between executive director and superintendent and kind of how they're connected.
Well, the superintendent in our school district, we have about 14,000 students, about 1,700 employees. He basically directs the overall day-to-day operation of the school, and we have four executive directors who focus on important departments within our organization. And my area of expertise is human resources. And right now, my job is to find outstanding people and make sure they stick around.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. And thank you for that clarification. Obviously, with bigger districts, there's a lot more moving parts and a lot more wonderful people involved, right, to make things happen. So curious, I know you shared a little bit about the district. Just for our listeners, can you share kind of where your district's located and a little bit more background around it?
Sure. Mustang Public Schools is a suburb of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. It's west of Oklahoma City on I-40. And again, we have about 14,000 students, about 1,800 employees. 1,000 of those are teachers. And we are a rapidly growing district. We are growing exponentially. One of our zip codes is 73099, and it was just named one of the 10 fastest growing zip codes in the United States. So a lot of people are moving here. We like to believe it's because of our school system, but keeping up with a teacher shortage, we're not only replacing people that leave, we're adding positions. So that kind of compounds the problem in reference to the teacher shortage. And that's really what I focus on is the hiring part, the retainment part, and just general personnel matters such as payroll, benefits, leave, that type of thing.
Got it. Got it. Is that the primary focus right now with the district, just the adapting to the growth? Is that kind of the big focus?
Sure, it's exciting, but it's very challenging just the same. Obviously, we receive funding based upon student population. So you certainly don't want to go down in enrollment. We're very fortunate that our enrollment is increasing. And right now, we're working on opening a new elementary school, which will be elementary school number 9 for our district. We're a one high school district. And it's exciting, but again, it's kind of a compounded problem because there is a teacher shortage, and just replacing what you lose, as I said, is a big challenge. But we're adding positions so that we're just constantly looking for people who love kids, who want to grow as professionals. And there are some perks being a teacher that sometimes people forget about. So it's really telling our story and recruiting and doing everything we can to make this an employee friendly place.
Got it. Got it. And what makes your district unique versus some of the other districts that are out there? Obviously, there's some fast growth. There's people coming there, and obviously, you probably want to share something so more teachers, learn about the district. And so, just yeah, what makes your district unique?
I would say, as I said, we're a one high school town. So we have one mascot, which is the Broncos. And when your name is Mustang, you're kind of limited on what that other word can be as far as your mascot. But it's a very large district, but we are really focused and desperate to maintain a small town feel. And that's sometimes hard to do with so many people and so many students. But We don't use it as an excuse and do whatever we can to make people feel at home, to have a small town feel, and to build on personal relationships. You're not just a number. You're not just an employee. We want to know you by name, and we want you to feel at home. And we want to make this feel as small town as we can within reason, while also understanding sometimes we have big school problems.
Yeah, it makes sense. And that seems like it could be a challenge, right? As growth happens, more layers of leadership, more different perspectives coming in from businesses and all kinds of community and that sort of thing. What are some actions y'all have taken to kind of keep that small town feel happening?
Our superintendent, Charles Bradley, he's an amazing guy. He's been in our district as a teacher, coach, administrator, and now superintendent for over 20 years. And year before last, he started what's called a listening tour. And he went to all 16 of our campuses and met with every employee, certified and what would be considered a support employee, and really asked hard questions, and knew that put him in a difficult position sometimes because it's impossible to make everyone happy. But he had the courage to listen to everyone, to let them ask him questions, both personal and professional, so he could build those relationships and just get an understanding of what their concerns were, what their desires for the district were moving forward. And that's paid big dividends. And from that relationship piece, just we're busy in central office. People know that, but it's a no excuse mentality not to get to a school every day. We need to go to a school, at least one in the district, every day or every other day, and be seen, be approachable, and really listen. Not direct, but listen. And that's something he really pushes. And it's hard sometimes, because you have a job to do, but maintaining relationships, we always put number one in Mustang.
Makes sense. So that human to human interaction, and I know
You
you mentioned
can't
earlier.
can't
Yeah, yeah,
replace it. It's important.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, it seems like having that conscious effort is super important as well because I've been a part of big organizations in the past, like probably a lot of our listeners, where it's easy to kind of get pigeonholed into the daily tasks, but you forget the human element of it, and your team members and your staying connected that way. So that makes sense. How about you personally? What are you passionate about in public ed these days?
Well, I'm really fortunate. I love the job that I'm doing, and I feel like public education has a place for everyone. If you're passionate about fine arts, athletics, academics, or the operations of the district, especially if you're in a big district, there's a job for everyone to meet your passion. And my passion is people. I love to meet new people. I love the recruiting process. I'm like a college football coach, and it's just really important that we're on the lookout continually for the best and brightest. I've referenced there's a teacher shortage. We know that nationwide. We've noticed in Oklahoma the trend is getting a little better, and so that's something positive. In my world, it's certainly not where it should be, but I love meeting new people. I love recruiting them to what I call my home, Mustang Public Schools, and making sure they have the tools and equipment to be successful and watch people grow in the profession. That's what I really love, and fortunately, they pay me to do that every day.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I like the analogy with the sports analogy, just bringing teams together, building that team out. That's awesome. Um, let's talk about the vision of the district. So there's a lot of growth happening, a lot of moving parts, a lot of people moving there. What's the picture look like in the future? What's on the horizon?
Well, we just opened what would be considered the nicest fully district owned performing arts center a few years ago. I'm sitting in a brand new education resource center. There's a lot of building. We're in the process of building a ninth grade center. Like I said, a new elementary that will open in August. So growth, growth, growth. would be number one on the list. And right behind that, as I said earlier, would be maintaining the personal relationships. And we have core values that we reference a lot in the administration building. And number one is building relationships, and number two is communication. Test scores are important, learning's important, a great educational experience for all of our kids are important, but you can't have any of that if they don't feel safe, if there's communication and there's a relationship understanding between everyone. So we really try to keep that at the forefront. And like I said, it's becoming more challenging because we're growing. But we're going to do whatever it takes to maintain those principles moving forward.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I like those. I like those core values. Yeah, and those are unestimated core values. It seems like it's so critical, but it seems like that's two of the most overlooked areas, relationships and communication, just in general.
We
Um,
believe any problem can be overcome if you have those two things in place. Things, you may have disagreements or a different idea of what the vision and mission is. But if everyone can agree that we're professionals, we're human beings, and we're going to continue to communicate and we're going to respect each other, I think you can make anything happen.
yep, I agree. I agree. Yeah, miscommunications are probably the biggest biggest problems, right? So yeah, not understanding what the other side meant. And if you have that relationship, you have that trust there to listen a little bit harder. Makes sense. So uh what am I missing? So we have some listeners here. I mean, we get about 1,000 listeners a month, right? Super. I imagine, I don't know who wants to listen to this stuff every month, but people
I do.
do, right? Yeah. So I imagine we get a lot of leaders in public education, right? Uh, um, anything that anything specifically that you'd like to share that may help someone that was in a spot that you were in a year ago or 2 years ago, or maybe some wisdom that you gained through the process.
Well, I don't mean to be dark and gloomy, but since COVID, in my role dealing with personnel, and yes, hiring and recruiting and retaining is really important and fun. But there's also another side, which is sometimes people are on the wrong seat or they're on the wrong bus, and you have to guide them to another place or a different position in the district because it's not a good fit. And with that being said, I think as professionals and as leaders, it's really important that we're mindful of the mental health component of our jobs. Um, we deal with people, we deal with kids, we deal with adults, as in parents and employees and patrons and fans. And dealing with people can be messy. And especially since we've gone through such a dramatic worldwide change and shift since COVID, we are noticing people seem to be struggling a little bit more with mental health. So the relationship piece and the communication piece is as important as it's ever been. And really having someone you can talk to, or sending employees to people they can talk to about their concerns and problems, I have found is critically important right now in education. Um, Kids, I would argue, are tougher to handle these days. They really are. They're bringing more complications to the equation with social media and things like that. Parents, uh, many people would argue, are a little bit more difficult to deal with these days for whatever reason. So our jobs are becoming more and more complex every day. Certainly more complex than when I entered the profession in the spring of 2003, just over 20 years ago. The job is very different, and I think we have to take care of each other. Those of us who chose this profession that are in education, it's important we're mindful of each other. We pay attention to our mental health. We pay attention to the well being of others, and we support each other because, again, not to be dark and gloomy, but our jobs are as hard as they've ever been in the history of education, especially in public education. What I'm speaking to.
Yeah, yeah, no, I've seen I guess a thread of that through a lot of the conversations we've had on the podcast, just some of the challenges that different districts face. And so what kind of support is being provided for districts in that area? Or is that a focus for in general in public education?
Well, our funds aren't unlimited. You know that. We're a state government agency. Um, yes, growth is great because that's more money we get, so to speak, but we have to put that money back into the classroom. But what we've done is we've made no excuse, and we've cut some costs, and we've put more counselors back into our schools. We've added instructional coaches. So the individuals who may not have a background in education but have chose education as their current profession, they're emergency certified, they're an adjunct teacher, what have you. Thank goodness they're interested in doing the job to fill that gap, but they need extra supports that maybe you and I received in college or in our student teaching experience that they don't have. So we have made the effort to cut appropriate costs, as I said, to add counselors, instructional coaches, and other supportive measures, not only for curriculum and instruction, but just the day to day operation of the job, and also resources that employees can use, if they're struggling emotionally or mentally or need mental health support.
What do you just curious, based on your opinion, what do you think is the challenge around that? Is it the stress? Is it the lack of alignment between the general public and the school public education? Is it I mean what's kind of the linchpin in the whole thing, or is there one?
I think there are a lot of things, and I don't want to make this political, but when I was growing up, and I grew up in the '80s and '90s, the role of a teacher carried a certain amount of respect in the community, and just in the state and country in general. And I think sometimes teachers can be easy targets because if a family or a parent is struggling with something, they're going to look for anything, to blame or express frustration to, because they know we're going to listen. We have a caring nature at heart. I think the shifts in society, unfortunately, in the last few years have made it harder for those in education, and we've become kind of not the problem fixers as we've always been, but maybe the problem in and of itself. And I don't understand that. I don't believe that. I don't think that, but um, I know we just deal with a more aggressive public toward us, and I don't know why, but that is a real reality. And some of the emails our teachers get from just community members or parents, you just think to yourself, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe somebody would sense would hit send on that without all of the facts." So I'm of course very defensive of the people who have chosen to care for kids as their profession. But I think just in general, just an air of professionalism and tact seems to be missing, from the people that our teachers deal with.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I appreciate you sharing that and giving that authentic, vulnerable answer of kind of the mindset of what's happening behind the scenes. And we're spreading the good word around public education. There's a lot of great things happening in public education. And I think it's good for listeners to hear that like, hey, we're all people. We're all human beings.
Sure.
We all have a job to do. And we all deserve a level of respect, when we're trying to get it done, because it's not an easy job, right?
Mm-mm.
Um, well, I know we're running short on time here. Any last thoughts before we close out today that you would like to share with our listeners?
I had a wonderful experience in public education growing up. My mom was a teacher, elementary principal. Many members of my family were in public education. So it's really in my blood. And I just want to encourage everyone, some days are dark in our world and some of the things we hear. But I think if we stay the course and keep fighting for kids and doing what we do, I think it's going to get better. And I think the teacher shortage, I think, is going to get better. I think we're trending in the positive. So my message would be, even on your worst day, just remember things will be better if we continue, to fight for kids and do what's best. I think things are going to be okay. Sometimes it's hard to come to that realization, but I think things are going to be okay. And I'm just so appreciative for all of your listeners and everyone who made the decision to dedicate their life to this profession.
Definitely, definitely. I completely agree with that. And that's really, I mean, this podcast, you get so many perspectives, right? From small districts, large districts, Texas, Oklahoma, just so many different perspectives. And it's hard for people to say public education in a box, this is what they are. It's because there's a lot of great things happening. And I think the growth in your district is a testament to that, and the focus on relationships and communication and truly caring, you know, just just caring, right, about the community and how things are communicated is important. So,
And I would
but
like to
yeah,
say, I started my career in Texas. I was in Plano, Texas for 8 years. That's where I started my career. Texas does amazing things. And a lot of the things that I learned in Plano, I brought to Oklahoma. So I'm a big fan. You mentioned Oklahoma and Texas. Public education in both states, I'm a big fan of. And they're amazing people doing amazing things in both of those states.
yeah, yeah, and I like to think Texas and Oklahoma are two of the greatest states when it comes to public education and how things are handled. But I'm a little biased there, right? Obviously, being from Texas, but um, well, thank you so much for making time today to be on the
Thank
podcast.
you. I love the show. I'm honored to be a part of it. And you take care, sir.
You too. All right. Well, y'all keep spreading the good word. And for our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Before we close out, we do want to give one final shout out to our sponsor, Ideal Impact. Ideal Impact's giving away hundreds of millions of dollars to public education in the form of a free gift. So if your district needs unrestricted funds, reach out to Ideal Impact. And for those that have been tuning in, stay tuned for future episodes of the Educational Leadership Podcast.